Okay, a very good morning from wherever you are watching us from. We are coming to you live from KUTV, Elimu Live. Welcome. Today we are going to do maths, and we always know that when it is Tuesday, it is maths. It's going to be quite interesting lesson ahead. I want you to get your pen, your book, because I'll equally give you some work in the course of the lesson. For the feedback, there's a number down your screen. You can reach us through the WhatsApp number that is there. If there's a question that you are not getting right, contact us through the WhatsApp number. Don't use my personal number. Thank you. So today we are going to learn something in simple interest. I know my colleagues before have taught simple interest, but there is a subtopic in simple interest that I wanted us to look into. And today we are going to tackle the following. We are going to look at rate. We are going to look at how to find principal. We are going to look at how to find time. And finally, when we find time, we are going to look at how to find amount. So we shall be talking about the four items. Rate, we shall look at principal, we shall look at time, and we shall look at amount. So in maths, we always start from known to unknown. That is why I said that my colleagues had taught the simple interest. So today, I'll be going to rate, principal, time, and amount. And from the previous lesson, we learned that simple interest is equal to principal times rate over 100 times time. But I don't want to begin it that way. I want to begin by defining these terms, because I may be talking about rate and you don't know what that rate is. I may be talking about principal and you may be thinking that this principal is the head teacher or that principal we find in school. I may be talking about time and maybe you are thinking about changing time from kilometers per hour to meters per second. I may be talking about amount and you actually don't know what that amount is all about. So first I'll define rate and I'll define principal. And finally, I'll talk about time. And let me begin from the easiest one, because time, we know, is the duration. Principal is the same as money borrowed. Money borrowed or money deposited. Rate. This rate is always given. This is a percentage. Rate is the percentage on which the money is charged, or on which money is charged. And rate is always given in percentage. So after giving those terms, after defining the terms, I believe I'll be good to go. I've given the definition of terms, so I'll be good to begin the lesson. And I want to begin our lesson from known to unknown. And that known is we shall get examples of simple interest. If you are told to find simple interest, we are told to find interest. And we call it simple interest because this is interest that is charged on initial deposit or initial money borrowed. That is why we call it simple interest. When you get to class 8, you will be taught what we call the compound interest. But today, our interest, again, will be about the simple interest and the terms that are down there. So I started by giving the formula of simple interest as principal. And I say that principal, this is not the manager of a school, times rate. Rate is always given as a fraction of 100 because it is in percentage. And we know that every percentage, like if it is 10%, a percentage is always just a representation of some fraction. Like 10% is always represented as 10 over 100. So let me finish writing the formula. That simple interest is equal to principal times rate over 100 times time. And we should always be very keen that time can be given, most of the times it is given in years, or what we call per annum. Annum is a Latin word which means yearly. It is rarely found in English, annum. So I'll give an example. An example I'll give here is Kimani deposited Kimani deposited 20,400 shillings in a bank. In a bank which paid simple interest, at the rate of 5% per annum. This PA stands for per annum, and I say that per annum means yearly. How much interest did he earn after 3 years? How much interest did he earn after 3 years? So when given such a sum, what you need to do first is identify these terms. Identify the terms. We are talking about principal. Identify rate. Identify time. So the first thing here, we shall identify the principal. Rarely will you find the word principal in a question. And that is why I said that principal is the same as money borrowed or money deposited. So we identify principal here. We are told that he deposited. So the money deposited becomes the principal, which is 20,400. Then we look for rate. And the rate here is 5% per annum. Then time. And we are told that the time here is 3 years. So the question here is very simple. Find the simple interest, or find the interest. And as the name suggests, it is simple that way. There's nothing hard about it. So we shall come and write the formula. We say that interest is equal to principal times rate over 100 times time. So we've identified the principal as 20,400, rate 5%, time for 3 years. We take 20,400 times rate, that is 5 over 100 times time. The time is 3 years. Then you simplify whatever is given here. We can say that this 0 will cancel with this 0. This one will cancel with this one. Then we take 204 times 5 times 3 is 15. You multiply 204 times 15. 204 multiplied by 15. Here you get 0, 2, that is 10. Here we get 4, 0, 2. Then you add everything. You get here 6, 0, 3. So our interest becomes 3,060 shillings. And you give yourself a clap. Thank you. I've seen a number of you clapping yourselves. The next example I'll give, and I'll now not go to finding simple interest, because I was just bringing your mind to class, because I knew already you have that information. So we want now to calculate principal. Sometimes you are told to find principal, or you are told to find rate, or equally you can be told to find time. So we want to check which formula are we going to use, and always start from known to unknown, the way I've just said it. Always start from known to unknown. And from algebra and fractions, using elimination and substitution, this formula alone can help you in deriving all these other formulas that are needed for principal, for rate, and for time. Let's look at it. Like there's something that you are always taught, that half x is equal to 7. And we are told to find the value of x. So here, we are going to remove the denominator, or we are going to eliminate the denominator by multiplying both sides by the denominator of these both sides. So this one will cancel with this will cancel with this. So we find that x is equal to 7. This information is very key in getting formula for other items here. So we can multiply both sides by 100 to know the formula for principal, for rate, and for time. So this one will cancel this one. So this side we shall have 100 times interest. I just call it interest, not simple interest now, is equal to P times R, principal, times rate, times time. So to get maybe principal alone this side, to remain with principal alone this side, we are going to divide both sides by rate times time. We are going to divide both sides by rate times time. And these ones will cancel that way, meaning that the formula of getting principal is equal to interest times 100, or 100 times interest over rate times time. And the same applies to others. So meaning that the formula of getting rate now is equal to interest times 100 over principal times time. And the formula for finding, we worked on rate, principal. What is remaining now is time. Time is equal to interest times 100 over principal times rate. So with this formulae, we are good to go. Let me write them somewhere. That principal is equal to interest times 100 over rate times time. And rate is equal to interest times 100 over principal times time. And time is equal to interest times 100 over principal times rate. So this formulae, a group of formulae is called formulae, will help us calculating the sums that we are going to tackle. A question is given that Wafula Wafula deposited 9,600 shillings in a bank. Which paid a simple interest of 5% for a certain period of time. The money and an interest. Of 120 shillings. The question here is, for how long did the money stay in the bank? For how long did the money stay in the bank? So you need to identify the key item here. And the key item here is for how long. When you hear for how long, it is about duration. It is about time. So the question here is about time. We've identified that what is needed here is time. So we are going to work out a solution to this one. So I'll write here a solution. And it will not be wise to write in your exercise book solution because you may get it wrong. Wafula deposited 9,600 in a bank which paid a simple interest of 5% for a certain period of time. The money earned an interest of 120 shillings. For how long did the money stay in the bank? So we go back to our formula of finding time. And we said that time is equal to interest times 100 over principal times rate. So time is equal to interest. Always write the formula so that you know what you are dealing with. So we shall say the interest here. The interest is 120. The interest is 120. So you put 120 times 100 over the principal. And in the beginning, I said that principal is the same as money borrowed or money deposited. So the principal becomes 9,600 times rate. And our rate here is 5%. I said that rate is always given in percentage. So you simply simplify from this point. We shall have 0 cancelling with this one. This 0 cancel with this 0. Then you can say that 5, always do the simplification. There is no need of multiplying 120 times 100 at class 7 level. So 5 goes into 12 2 times. Remainder 2. It goes here 4 times. So we shall have 24 over 96. You simplify this one. I know by class 7 you know that 24 can go here 4 times. 24 times 4 is 96. So our answer, the time, is 1 over 4 years. And sometimes you may not get that 1/4 years in the choices when it is an exam, in an exam paper. So what will you do? You change this 1/4 into months. And we know that 1 year is equal to 12 months. So we multiply this 1/4 times 12. This one, here is 3. So our answer is 3 months. I think we are good up to that point. I'll now give you a question, and you'll give us a feedback through the WhatsApp number that is given there. I'll give you a question. I'll give a question here. And the question is, Jerry wanted to buy land worth, Jerry wanted to buy land worth 120,000 shillings. She had 70,000 shillings. She had 70,000 shillings in her account and borrowed the rest. She borrowed the rest of the money from a bank. Which she was supposed to pay back. She was supposed to pay back this money after 3 years. If she paid back the money, plus an interest of 25,500 shillings. At what rate percent did the money earn interest? So I want you to give a try to that sum as we continue with finding other items. You remember the previous question was asking about time. Now we are going to handle a question that is asking about interest. And the question is, I remember the first one that we did was about interest. So the next one should be about rate. And the question here is, a bank, we want to tackle this question together. A bank paid her customer an interest of 2,900 shillings after the expiry period. Of 2 years. If the customer had deposited, if the customer had deposited 14,500 shillings at what rate was the interest paid? At what rate was the interest paid? And I've said that the first thing when you are given such a sum is identify. You know that in simple interest we have principal, we have rate, we have time, and sometimes interest can be given in the sum. So identify these factors first. We list them: principal, we list rate, we list time, and we can list interest. That a customer paid, a bank paid as customer an interest rate, an interest of 2,900. So the interest here is 2,900 shillings. After the expiry period of 2 years, another key item here is 2 years. So 2 years represents time. 2 years represents time. If the customer had deposited 14,500, I said at the beginning that money deposited or money borrowed is called principal. So that is 14,500. At what rate was the interest paid? So after identifying all these, we find that what is missing here is the rate. And we go back to our formula and find we had listed them here. And we said that rate is equal to interest times 100 over principal times time. Rate is equal to interest. What is given here as the interest is equal to the interest times rate times 100 over principal. Principal is money deposited times time. So we shall put the interest, that is 2,900. Let me write it here, 2,900 times 100 over principal. And the principal we've identified here is 14,500 times time. The time given here is 2 years. The time given there is 2 years. So you simply simplify. Simplify by cancelling. Don't go the long division when you are in class 7 or 6. By now you should know how to simplify by cancelling. So we shall say that this 0 will cancel with this 0. The 0 here will cancel with this one. We look for factors that can go into 2,900 and maybe 145 and 2. 2 goes there one time. 2 goes here once. 2 goes into 9 4 times. Remainder 1 into 10, 5. So we shall have 1,450 over 145. I believe you don't need to be a very great mathematician to know that this one, 145, can go into 145 one time. So we have 1 and 0. Our answer becomes 10%. And rate, remember, rate is always given in percentage. Rate is always given in percentage. I believe you are sending back your feedback for this sum. You are sending back your feedback for that sum. We shall move to the next one. We've looked at rate. We now want to check how to get amount. We now want to check how to get amount. We now want to check how to get amount. We've looked at rate, we've looked at time. We now want to check how to get amount, and it will be our final item. Amount. Amount is also a question that bothers children a lot when it comes to simple interest. And the formula of getting amount, and even from English itself, you should know that amount is everything put together. So after working out the simple interest, after working the interest and knowing the principal and putting these two items together, that is what forms the amount. So amount is equal to principal. Principal. Amount is equal to principal. And I say that this principal is not that principal, the one heading a school, plus interest. Amount is equal to principal plus interest, meaning that you have to work out the interest first. Then later, you add it to the amount, to the principal to find the amount. An example in a question would be, I'll give an example here. Marwa borrowed. Marwa borrowed 19,000 shillings from a bank. At simple interest rate of 10% for 2 years. How much did he pay back? Did he pay back? How much did he pay back at the end of 2 years? The moment you hear or you read the word how much, you should know that what is needed here is amount. So you simply come and write your formula. Say that amount is equal to principal plus interest. Amount is equal to principal times interest. We know that principal is already given here. I said that principal is the same as money borrowed or money deposited. So the principal is 19,000. The principal is 19,000. What we don't know here is the interest. At the back of your mind, you should be having that formula of getting the interest. And we say that simple interest or interest is equal to principal times rate times time over 100. So we shall take the principal. The principal, that is the same as money borrowed, that is 19,000 times rate. And we say that rate is given in percentage, which is a fraction. that is 10 over 100 times time. And where is the time? For 2 years. So time here is 2 years. Multiply by 2. Then we simplify. 0 will cancel with this 0. This 0 will cancel with this 0. So we shall have 190 times 10 times 2. 190 times 10 times 2. 190 times 10 times 2. So this is like 1,900 times 2, which is the same as 3,800. When we multiply these ones, we get 3,800. Our calculation is not over at that point because the question was amount. Find the amount. So how do we get the amount? The formula is here. The formula is principal plus interest. And we know that the principal, we had written it here. What we were looking for was the interest, this one here. So we shall take 19,000 plus 3,800. 19,000 plus 3,800. 0, 0, 8. There are 2. Carry 1. So answer would be 22,800 shillings. This is the amount. That is the amount. I'll handle the question that I gave. I want to check what you did about this questionnaire of Njeri, who wanted to buy a piece of land. If there's something that is not clear to you, you can use the WhatsApp handle that is given, that is appearing on your screen, so that we get the feedback. You can see the feedback is amazing. So as I do the sum, I've seen you've given different answers. So we just want to confirm who got the right answer today. Want to confirm from you. So the question is, Jerry wanted to buy a piece of land worth 120,000 shillings. This was the actual amount that was needed. She had 70,000 in her account, meaning that Jerry already has something. She's not just going to buy land from nowhere. She has 70,000 in her account and borrowed the rest from a bank which she was supposed to pay back after 3 years. If she paid back the money plus an interest of 25,500, at what rate percent did the money earn interest? So the question here is, at what rate? The key item here is rate. And from our formula, we know that rate is equal to interest times 100 over principal times time. And we have to identify these ones now. We already have interest is given here. So the interest is already given 25,500. Time is already given there as 3 years. Principal. Principal, we don't know the actual principal here. And we have to find the principal here because the confusion here would be somebody may take 120,000 as the principal, another person may take 70,000 as the principal. But that is not the actual principal because we said that principal is the same as money borrowed or money deposited. So the actual money that Njeri borrowed here was 120,000 minus 70,000. Why am I saying 120,000 minus 70,000? It's so because the money that she needed, the land was worth 120,000, but she already had something, 70,000, meaning that the money that she needed to borrow here was a difference between the two. So the difference between 120,000 and 70,000 is 50,000. So after finding that the principal is 50,000, you are good to go. So with that in mind, we are going to work out this question. We are now going to apply the formula. We are going to say that rate is equal to interest times 100 over principal times time. And I believe we have identified all of them here. So we shall say interest. The interest there is 25,500 times 100 over principal. And the principal we found to be 50,000 times the time. Time here is 3 years. As I said before, you simply do simplify these sums. Simplify. Don't go the long division or long multiplication of multiplying 25,500 times 100, then you divide by 50,000 times 3. No, just simplify. Let this 0 cancel with this one. This 0 cancels with this one. The 0 here cancels with this 0. This 0 cancels with this 0. So we shall be having 255 times 1. I believe that one, you know, it's just 255. Any number multiplied by 1, the number remains so. Over 5 times 3. We can still do the simplifying here. We know that 5 goes here once, 5 goes into 25, 5 times without a remainder. 5 goes into 5, 1. So we have 51 over 3. 5 goes here one time. 3 goes here once. 3 goes here once, remainder 2. 3 goes into 21, 7 times. So we find that our answer, the rate, will be 17. And always remember to write the percent. The rate is 17%. I believe up to that point, we are now okay with the calculating rate, calculating time, calculating interest, calculating amount, calculating rate, time, interest, amount, and what is remaining here? Calculating principal. I believe that will mark the end of our lesson today. It was great interacting with you. See you when schools reopen next week. Remember to stay safe. COVID-19 is still here. Thank you.